all glories, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for joining for our daily Srimad Bhagavatam study here at ISKCON of Philadelphia. We are reading, studying, and discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, text number 8. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you make keep it big? Yeah, that's all.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Okay, I'll recite the shloka 3 times, then anyone who is interested is most welcome to recite. Shutritritridhadubirimam muhurardhyamana Sitoshnavatavarsher itaretaracha Kamagninaच्युतरुषा च सुधुर्भरेण Sampashyato mana urukramasīdate me Shutritridhadubirimam शीतोष्णवातवरसैरितरेतराच्चा कामाग्निनाच्युतरुषा च सुदुर्भरेण सम्पश्यतो मन उरुक्रमसीदते मे सूत्रे त्रिधातुभिरिमा मुहुरर्ध्यमाना शीतोष्णवातवरसैरितरेतराच्चा कामाग्निनाच्युतरुषा च सुधुर्भरेण सम्पश्यतो मन उरुक्रमसीदते मे. Please recite.
Hare Krishna. Shrutatatra tribhatubhirimamurardemana Sitoshnavatavarseraitaretacharachya Kamagninachyutarusha cha Sudurbharena Sampashayato mana urukramasidati me.
Krishna.
Shutritidhatuvir imamuhur adyamana Sitoshnavatara Varasir iterecha Kamagninachuta Rusacha Sudharbharena Sampasyato Mana Urukramasidhati me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shrutut tridhatu bhirimamuhurdharmanaha Shitokshnavatavarakshirita Vetarachu Kamagninachutrusha cha Sudurбhare Spakshyato man urukram sidayatmi. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else? Okay. We'll go to the synonyms. Shut, hunger. Trit, thirst. Tri dhatu bihi, three humors, namely mucus, bile, and wind. Ima, all of them. Muhu, always. Ardhyamana, perplexed. Sita, winter. Ushna, summer. Vata, wind. Varse, by rains. Itara, itarat, and many other disturbances. Cha, also. Kama, agnina, by strong sex urges. Achyuta rusa, indefatigable anger. Cha, also. Sudhurbarena, most unbearable. Sampashyataha, so observing. Manaha, mind. Urukrama, O great actor. Siddhate, becomes despondent. Me, my. Translation. O great actor, my lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them, and am very much aggrieved for them. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord, like Brahma, and persons in his disciplic succession are always unhappy to see the perplexities of the conditioned souls who are suffering the onslaughts of the threefold miseries which pertain to the body and mind, to the disturbances of material nature, and to many other such material disadvantages. Not knowing adequate measures for relieving such difficulties, suffering persons sometimes pose themselves as leaders of the people, and the unfortunate followers are put into further disadvantages under such so called leadership. This is like a blind man's leading another blind man to fall into a ditch. Therefore, unless the devotees of the Lord take pity on them and teach them the right path, their lives are hopeless failures. The devotees of the Lord who voluntarily take the responsibility of raising the foolish materialistic sense enjoyers are as confidential to the Lord as Lord Brahma. जय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति सपदान्तिकं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादि पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे माम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते सच्चिदानंद स्वामी नित्यानंद नित्यानंद परिप्रेष्ठ दीनभद्रेक पार संकीर्तन शरणम Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. I'll read the translation. O great actor, my lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, and bile, attacked by coughing, winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them and am very much aggrieved for them. Before I speak, I seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas and also seek your permission so I can try to repeat what I have heard, primarily for my own purification. But I also pray that it is pleasing to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. So, beautiful prayers by Lord Brahma. Before we go into the details of this verse, just an overview of this chapter. Brahma's prayers for creative energy, and Brahma is glorifying the Supreme Lord with very, very suitable verses. And he established previously that the Supreme Lord is the complete absolute truth, and he's the ultimate reality. And then he recommended everybody to surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was also explaining about the benefits of taking shelter of the Supreme Lord or of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And then he further explains, about the consequences of not doing so. Sometimes to emphasize the importance of something, you say, what happens if you don't do that, right? My mother used to do this a lot when I was a kid. If you don't study properly, if you don't study every day, you are going to become this. She was very harsh. I mean, she was a teacher, so she used to tell me, if you don't study properly, you're not going to be fit for even begging on the streets. You know, this is what she used to tell me every single day. She was a strict teacher. So, anyways, the point here is, if you don't follow the law, this is what will happen, right? We hear, if you don't stop at the red light, this is what will happen. So you must stop, you must follow. So Brahma was explaining the consequences of not following the instructions of the Supreme Lord. Because that is the condition of the living entities. Uh, as long as we don't follow or surrender to the Supreme Lord, we will be in constant anxiety, constant fear of maintaining family, wealth, uh, so much lamentation, so much anxiety. And there'll be so much lust and greed for accumulating more and more. Mama and it, we call it mine. Everything. So, uh, and even we take into venturing into such undertakings which are so painstaking, so laborious, but the benefits are shulla sukham, right? Very, very limited, very temporary, but full of anxieties. Mm. Um, so Brahma is saying, people in this material world will keep on suffering for unlimited time. And you'll only become fearless or free of all these things if you take Abhaya, shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Um, so Brahma's prayers, and it's interesting in this verse you can see that in the beginning of the creation he is praying. These are his prayers. So what does that mean? He's predicting the future, right? The future problems of material life. And material life, as we have heard so many times, is dukhalayam ashashvatam, right? Temporary and full of miseries. So he's describing all the miseries that people will be experiencing in the future. Shut, trit, right? These are the two words in the first two words of this verse. Shut is hunger and trit is thirst. And then tridhatu bihi. This body has three dhatus, those mucus, air, and bile. Yeah, and as long as they are in the right proportions, everything is balanced. But if you see, most people are always having some imbalance, right? Body is always something or the other is going on, troubling. These imbalances keep troubling each of us in this world. Mm. So, ima muhur ardhyamana, constantly being tortured. Uh, and not just with these three dhatus, but then he says, Sitoshna Vata Varasher Itaratarascha. Means what? There are other problems like um, extreme heat, extreme cold, extreme rains, and many such things. So many difficulties or inconveniences are there. Ah, Kamagni Nachuta Rusacha. So our material desires or this lust is burning like wildfire. Mm. And when these desires, material desires, are not fulfilled, or the hankerings that I have in my heart for material sense gratification is not satisfied, then I become very angry. Mm. And so this sudhurbarena, intolerable disturbances or distresses are there. Uh, Huh? So Brahma is saying sampashyato means by thinking of all these sufferings for the living entities, mana, my mind, urukrama siddhate me. So Brahma is saying, I am feeling lot of pain and my mind is in great anxiety. Like this, he is offering prayers to the Lord. He is very concerned about the living entities and the sufferings that are going to come to all these living entities. So pure devotees of the Lord, they glorify the Lord and they always want to serve the Lord. And there are many ways to serve the Supreme Lord. And Brahma is the secondary creator of this material world. But he's doing this secondary creation as a service to the Lord because he's a devotee of the Lord. And what is this service of creation? You know, Brahma is giving material bodies to all the living entities. And how is he awarding these material bodies? Based on what? Anyone? Based on our past karma. But what is the meaning of past karma? He is giving the body at the beginning of this creation, right? So before this creation, there was annihilation of the previous creation. So there is creation, maintenance, and annihilation of previous creation. So this cycle is going on from time immemorial. So living beings in this material world, we are given a chance to become free from this cycle, especially in this human form of life. In every creation, one gets a chance. So many people here, when you talk to people in general, many people hear about mukti or liberation. But what does it really mean? So, freedom from all material miseries, yes, in general, people say, but simply aiming at freedom from material miseries is not enough to guarantee that we'll be permanently free from all material miseries. And why is that? Because living entities, we are spirit souls, and the spirit soul is always active and needs active engagement. And what is that active engagement when we become free from all material miseries? What is that active engagement? That is, as we heard and read many times, in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam, the most confidential knowledge, that is loving devotional service to the Lord. Uh, uh, Now, majority of us, almost all of us, except a few, we are all taking birth in this material world because of our past karma. But there are some personalities, some who take birth or at least appear to take birth like me, uh, like ordinary living entities, but they are appearing just like that transcendental Lord appears in this material world, how he appears from the spiritual world. So these pure devotees are called acharyas. Yeah. Like, so the verse Prabhupada is explaining the purport that unless these great acharyas show compassion, like Brahma is showing compassion, there is no chance for hopeless living entities. So acharyas like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself came, Srila Prabhupada, all are pure devotees, acharyas. They are incarnating from the spiritual world just like the Supreme Lord. Why? Simply for the sake of helping us, helping people like me become free from all material miseries by helping us take the process of Krishna consciousness. So, this is a prayer offered by a pure devotee Acharya, by Brahma. And he's praying by taking compassion on the suffering souls of this world. Even though Brahma doesn't want anyone to suffer, right? Brahma doesn't want it, but he is giving everyone a body which becomes the instrument of suffering, right? Material body itself means material suffering. So why Brahma has to give us this material body? that is subjected to so much suffering? Why do we get this material body arranged by the Supreme Lord through Brahma?
Somehow or other we do the devotional service and go to him again.
Yeah, but why did we first? Why did we even get this? Yes, yeah, that's a realized person. But
After
generally,
suffering, we go to devotional service.
but why did we get this material body? First
Because
of all,
that's what we that's what we wanted. We went away from Krishna. We said we wanted to be independent.
yes, yes. We are spirit souls. We are not this material body. We have a spiritual body, each one of us. But it's covered by this material body. We don't require this material body actually. But still we are given this material body because, as Bhavagrahi Janardana Prabhu said, because I have this desire for material sense enjoyment. Because two reasons. Because I have the desire for material sense enjoyment and I want to lord over this material nature, so I must accept this material body.
Unless we taste the bitter thing, otherwise we don't feel that sweetness.
Mm. So when you accept this material body, of course, sure, there is some material sense enjoyment, and also there is an opportunity for lording over material nature. But along with these two, there is always material miseries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh? And we can see and understand what kind of miseries are being forced upon us. And some of those are mentioned here, right? Uh, Hunger and thirst, Shut and Trit. Right? When we do some work, we eat, then we do some work, then again we feel hungry when we have digested the previous, uh, then again work. Doctors, if you go to a doctor and say, maybe Kaivalya Prabhu can vouch for this. If I'm not feeling hungry for a long time and a couple days, means there is some problem, right? So it's natural to be hungry and thirsty. But the scriptures inform us that the spiritual body is free from all these. Sukadev Goswami describes in the 5th canto, 1st chapter, text 35. Uh, the devotee who has taken shelter of the Supreme Lord, the dust of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he can rise above the influence of the 6 kinds of waves, of material waves, the influence of the 6 material waves. And we are constantly being bombarded by these. Just like, somebody, and I'll explain all those 6 kinds of waves, which are also discussed in today's verse. Like how in the ocean, where you see a lot of people are playing in the ocean, right? The waves are constantly coming and hitting. Yeah. Sometimes, because of this constant hitting of the waves, people get drowned. Same way, these 6 kinds of waves are constantly hitting the living entity. So we talked about thirst and hunger. Then there is lamentation and illusion, moha and shoka. So this thirst and hunger, lamentation and illusion, and then there is old age and death. So these, in the spiritual body, these material waves do not affect. There is no suffering due to thirst or hunger or lamentation or illusion or old age or death. So the point is, only because I have foolishly accepted this material body due to my own material desires, I am forced to drown in these 6 waves. But if we engage in loving devotional service, then we can transcend this uh, material waves, rise above this material body, and then we can realize our eternal form and become freed from these 6 waves. Brahma also mentions about Tridhatu Bihi, in this verse. He talks about the three kinds of elements, kapha, vata, and pitta, right? The mucus, bile, and wind or air. All these three are required for the proper functioning of this body. As I mentioned in the beginning, if they are in balance, everything works properly. But if there's little imbalance, so much suffering. Mucus can become the cause of so much suffering. Um, Breathing can become a cause of so much suffering. Uh, so, although we try to maintain a very healthy body, but everybody gets sick and suffer different kinds of problems or sicknesses, right? Any exceptions? Everybody. Yeah. So, and particularly in Kali Yuga, most people are suffering so many diseases, uh, so many hospitals everywhere, right? I was in Hyderabad for a few months, for some time, and oh, so many hospitals. Oh, and all of them are full, and so much money is being spent on the medicines and hospitals. That itself tells that people are suffering. It's a confirmation that people are suffering from many diseases because of these three dhatus, which means balance is not always possible. So, Prabhupada talks about the different types of miseries in the purport, and these are all our bodily miseries, which are called as adhyatmic kleshas, right? Miseries arising from our own material body. Hmm. Then there is adi daivik kleshas, or miseries due to nature. Prabhupada is talking about rains, cold, excessive heat, shitoshna vatavarsha, right? Excessive heat, wind, cyclones, storms, heavy storms. Uh, these are all sufferings also one has to undergo. We like winter only at the beginning, right? After excess heat and lot of heat waves and hot summer, when winter begins, then I feel, oh, it's nice. Excess, then this body cannot tolerate. Is excess cold, then I can't wait for summer, right? And same way, nobody wants old age, nobody wants disease, no one wants death, but they are being forced upon us. Uh, so, but the spiritual body, or we are Satchit Ananda. It's the spiritual form is not made of these three dhatus. We are full of bliss, eternal, and full of knowledge. And the only way one can uncover this original spiritual form is through pure devotional service. Uh, Now, how can one take up to pure devotional service? How did, all of us take up to devotional service? Yes. Any reflections? How did you take up to the process of bhakti?
Just chanting,
Yes. And
then
who,
just
who introduced you to chanting?
my guru.
Yes, yes.
Guru is like Krishna, and so
Yeah,
through Guru I got this message.
yes. So only if a pure devotee takes compassion and teaches, ignorant, foolish living entities who are constantly suffering. Uh, Otherwise, there is no chance or no hope. Uh, 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 so devotees do so much services, so many services, but this one service is so much glorified. Uh, that service where you are preaching to the suffering souls and helping them get out of suffering, uh, so that they can all enjoy eternal life in loving devotion to the Lord. This is topmost service. Mm. So many places we heard these instructions, and that too through personal example of great personalities. When Srila Prabhupada got instruction from his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he he was around 25, 26 years, and the instruction was to teach about Vaishnava scriptures to the Western world. And Srila Prabhupada took that instruction very, very seriously. You know, he was constantly planning, attending for almost 30 years. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Maharaj left his body in 1936, and Srila Prabhupada came to the West in 1965, almost 30 years later, to fulfill the mission of his Guru. So even though he was 69 years old, at that old age, taking so much compassion for the suffering souls, like Brahma is talking about here. He traveled in a cargo ship for 37 days. He faced so much severe sicknesses. And when he came to America, you know, it's not like people were ready to accept. People were also materially absorbed. They were not interested in this message. And the initial people who took interest in this bhakti philosophy were hippies. But this is the beauty of the pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada. No discrimination, so compassionate. Uh, Even if there is a spark of interest, Srila Prabhupada encouraged to take up the process and get permanently freed from these material miseries. He began in a very, very humble way, but through his persistent efforts and strong preaching, he expanded the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Uh, Such devotees who are rendering this particular service of preaching to such souls through great difficulties, guiding and nurturing bhakti in the hearts of such people, such devotees, and their services are very, 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 very dear to the Supreme Lord. That's why Prabhupada writes in the purport, such pure devotees. Here in the purport it says, the devotees of the Lord who voluntarily take the responsibility of raising the foolish materialistic sense enjoyers are as confidential to the Lord as Lord Brahma. So they should be worshipped on the same level as Krishna himself. Krishna tells Uddhava, Mad Bhakta Pujabhyadhika. Therefore, not only is a devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than the direct worship of the Lord. In the 11th canto, 19th chapter, it says, and such Acharya devotees are called Paramahamsas. And they are transcendental to all this material conditioning. And they are so compassionate to all the fallen souls. Um, and in the purport we read, unless devotees like Brahma, like Srila Prabhupada take compassion, there is no hope for fallen souls. And you can see this practically, uh, when we see and meet some people, right? Generally, we see living entities, most of the living entities, they live in denial, right? Like examples are given of rabbits. A rabbit, what does it do when it's in trouble? Closes his eyes. Prabhupada gives the example of ostrich. What does the ostrich do when it's in trouble?
Buries its head in the sand.
Yes, as if nothing will happen. You go to the hospital, you ask people in the hospital, how are you doing? Sometimes you see people answering, I'm okay, I'm good. They are in the hospital itself means they are not good. But living in denial, because most people don't want to admit that we are suffering. When sometimes go out for book distribution, when I'm sure some of you have experienced this, when you try to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, people respond, "No, thank you, I'm good." Or you want to engage them in some singing and dance, sometimes, "No, I'm good." Reality is, relatively you may be, in a materially slightly better position, but you can be lot better. Actually, no, they're not good. Mm. So even when you tell people, that, oh, this will relieve you of stress, anxiety, and still they'll deny. Once I was in, Chicago for a work conference many years ago. So I had some books with me in my bag. So this conference was in downtown Chicago, but my hotel was about 20 minutes away from there. So um, I came to the hotel at 5 p.m. and then I had some books with me, small books, and then few soft-bound Bhagavad Gitas also, but mostly small books. So I was just trying to distribute some books right across the hotel, and yeah, a few people took the books, but then there was one person who was standing right beside me, and you know he was smoking, um, and then a few times I observed him. Um, he was just looking at me top to down in some sort of a um, uh, disagreement or dissent, and I tried to approach him. He said no, 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 no. He didn't want me to uh, he didn't want to entertain me. But then after some time, you know he was I was alone. There was not many people coming. Then he was there. Then he said, "Do you do this is how you earn your livelihood?" He asked me. So I said no, and then we started conversing, and then I said, "No, I do this. These books teach you about the art of higher consciousness, how to deal with stress and anxiety." And then slowly he started opening up, and he was waiting to have for an appointment, in about half hour or 45 minutes. He was waiting to see a psychiatrist. He was a very successful CEO, you know, um, and but going through a lot of mental problems. He was on the verge of a divorce, but had a child, and very soon he started opening his heart and was in literally in tears, and said because of all this depression he started taking to alcohol. Right, this is what many people do when they are in troubles. Anyways, at the end, he opened up his heart and literally shared everything for about 20-25 minutes, accepted the Bhagavad Gita and gave a $20 donation and took my contact. But the point is, most people don't want to admit it. And Prabhupada used to call, they're either numb or fools. Each one of us has some physical or mental thing, something or the other going on. If nothing, then there's a political or a global or a national problem, right? People want to do something, donate or do some voluntary service. Yeah. But we see so many people are suffering. Even when, our own near and dear ones suffer. Suffer meaning, even when, if a spouse, wife is having a child, it's so much pain, right? So much suffering. And sometimes, a father or a mother or a husband, or even a wife, if they see their partner or their son or daughter suffering, Oh, I wish I could transfer all the pain to me. Even Prahlad, in the ninth canto, we see Prahlad's prayers. Oh, give me other suffering, right? That's not always possible. We have to go through our own suffering, you know. And sometimes we see people say, oh, keep going, keep going. Oh, I'll take my punches. Yeah. Or maybe such is life, you know. Uh, and majority of these people, they turn stone-hearted later on in life. Or sometimes we say, or we hear, oh, he deserves it. Or some people think they can beat or overcome these problems. And no matter what, I'll be happy, you know. Um, so, the only way we can get out of these sufferings is to stop having material desires. The more material desires, the longer we will stay here in this material world. And the best way is to get spiritual knowledge. It helps us to get out of this bodily identification. Uh, Prayas and Shreyas. Prayas is like temporary bandage fix, you know. But Shreyas is long term. It can change our future entirely, which is devotional service. Mm. And Srila Prabhupada had so many outreach programs, right? He realized if people are hungry, then they won't be interested in the bhakti philosophy. So he had prasadam distribution, you know. So prasadam, holy name, and the books. So the whole package is there, Krishna conscious package that can give relief to everybody. That's why we hear again and again, this is the greatest benediction for all humanity. Chanting and this process of Krishna consciousness. Because this is the real compassion for the soul, not just for the body. Yeah. As I said, this brings light to the matter, you know. And many people are looking for choices to get out of this miserable situation they are in. Like I said, this example, many people take to alcohol or some other ways, you know, self help, self heal, or take vacation to run away from problems. Uh, Sometimes you see these so called motivational speakers, but ultimately what they are saying, their solutions are, you know, oh, make more money. You're wonderful, you know. God wants you to be successful. God wants you to make money and enjoy. You know, Prabhupada is referring in the purport to these misleading false preachers, uh, like blind leading blind. Says not knowing adequate measures for relieving such difficulties, suffering persons sometimes pose themselves as leaders of the people, and the unfortunate followers are put into further disadvantages under such so called leadership. This is like a blind man's leading another blind man to fall into a ditch, right? Yeah, unless the person who is leading has a proper vision and sight, only such a person can show the path. So many cheaters, so many classes of people. Even Prabhupada met, you know, one example Prabhupada gives is about that Professor Katovsky in Russia explaining about the Gita and the Vedas, but he didn't believe in soul and reincarnation, but was teaching. So Prabhupada was criticizing so many fake gurus. So Prabhupada would cringe even when he heard of their names. You know, they said they're all just cheaters. Give me a boot and I'll kick on their face. So same way you see all these peacemakers, UNESCO, ultimately just more wars and more trouble. Unless, you know, everybody realizes and understands the formula for peace, which is that, you know, Mamaivamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. And that Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surhudam Sarvabhutanam Gnatva Mam Shantim Richati. We can observe World Peace Day. We can observe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever days they are. Unless we realize that the ultimate proprietor and beneficiary of all sacrifices is Krishna, There's no chance for peace. Just false promises by these fake leaders won't give any peace. Same thing, Prabhupada. Many places talks about all the scientists and all the theories. So much tax money is going. So many fake promises that, oh, you can live longer, healthy, this, that, like post-dated checks. All this advancement in technology, you know, so many, most of the kids and even adults, we're all addicted to this technology now, right? Kids don't even want to go out and play. They're so busy with the devices. When I was a kid, my mother had a hard time to bring me inside the house. Come back, come back, come back. And now it's difficult. Kids are so much misery in the digital world also. And same, all these blind leaders like the politicians, just liars and criminals, and they are gathering all these degraded people to support them. A very frightful situation if you just see what's happening around in the world today. And Prabhupada didn't want us to merge and look good and become one of these. No, he wanted us to be different, to tell the truth. He said you should make propaganda against these cheaters and set a good example as saintly people. So this society is going downhill and it will continue to happen. That's why acharyas like Srila Prabhupada are fighters against these rascals. Uh, and even we saw even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, once they were in Shantipur, were going to see Advaita Acharya, and they met a householder sannyasi. That couple, that sannyasa and his householder sannyasa and his wife, they were amazed by the two lords, invited them in, and anyone remembers what was the blessing this householder sannyasa gave to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Oh, you may have long, healthy life, nice wife, plenty of wealth. Immediately Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is not a blessing from a sannyasi to a sannyasi, you know. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, this man needs some preaching. And the sannyasi got a little upset, But so many fake gurus, people get misled. And you see, actually, sometimes I meet people or I come across where parents express concern. People get scared when youth or young people leave home, because of these fake gurus and fake propagandas, fake people, you know, g- genuine, when some children, young people join ISKCON or, come to the movement, their parents are worried, concerned because of all these fake gurus and fake propagandas. They don't realize, you know, uh, how how important it is for one to, really take shelter of the real guru, take shelter of a pure devotee who gave us these books to change our hearts, uh, who gave us this knowledge to become potent. And Krishna personally worked through Srila Prabhupada to change the world and help all the suffering souls. So we are really very, very fortunate to have this process of Krishna consciousness to purify our hearts. Uh, uh, and I'm talking to myself to use this and follow the path. And the more I practice, the more potent, one can become as a preacher, and more, you know, um, you see so many pure devotees, so many great, Vaisheshika Prabhu and his team, and so many devotees, Philadelphia, and many places are going out and preaching, and so much hope for suffering living entities. And Prabhupada say we should try and become that shiny moon, powerful and brilliant, to volunteer and preach to everyone, every single soul we meet. And sometimes, just having the Vaishnava attire is such a powerful preaching tool. If I put tilak and wear a dhoti, kurta, or someone wears a sari, it helps people remember Krishna. Sometimes you go into a grocery store or somewhere and people stop and say, hey, that looks so nice. What is that? Or I like your dress. So you get an opportunity to talk about Krishna. So we try to uh, represent this Vaishnava culture. Yeah, just few points I wanted to share. I'll stop here. Thank you so much for the wonderful opportunity to read and hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I beg for forgiveness if I've made any mistakes. And I humbly request devotees to please correct and add. Thank you again for the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much for the nice class. And then a lot of things. I always think, mother, whatever you said, you thought of your mother. You remember? whether she yelled at you, whether she said some words or something. That is the first guru. As soon as you open your eyes, you see your mother only. So same thing my son always tells me. He is over 50. Now today he says, Mummy, you spanked me the other day. When he was 3 years old, I spanked him for something. I said, okay, I didn't do anything bad. You became good officer, big officer, and you had a good family, everything. That's what mothers wish. So at that time, you might think that your mother said that word. But later on, when you prosperous and she wants to see you like that. That's what you're doing to your kid also. Is that right? So,
Yeah,
what I'm saying is like Brahma, he also did that same thing. He created us, but he told us, no, he's telling us that you just go and chant and think of God and you have to do these things. He is the second creator. But he's still telling us we need to go towards God, not in material things. But he created us and he wants us to taste this independent life, what we wanted, like fools. So those things repeating from any other way we can think. So that reminded my son also. All the time he says like that. Even today he says every time. No, that time I was 3 years old, you spanked me. You were teaching me from that onwards. You are so rough. But I said, you didn't become bad. So that is the thing, Prabhu. I just want to say that, even Brahma told us like that after creation. He's telling us, yeah, I created you, I gave you this life and everything, but still you need to chant, still you need to pray. Devotional service is the best thing. Thank you very much for nice class, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, just one comment. Yes, very nice. Thank you for sharing, which is very true. Most mothers do discipline their children, and that's for their well-being. The only thing, minor thing here is, or only point here is, Brahma is our spiritual eternal well-wisher. Yeah, and not just the material well-being, but most importantly for the spiritual well-being.
That's true.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank
That's
you.
what I felt.
Okay. Any other corrections or reflections? Otherwise, we can.
Thank you, Prananatha Prabhu. Very nice class. was thinking as you were talking, you were preaching about, especially when we come into contact with different fields of science. Maybe other, social sciences or physical sciences, and they propose so many theories that are out there. And as practitioners on the path of bhakti, trying to be devotees, adopting the eternal principles of devotional service, but yet still living in this material world and having to expose ourselves to so many of the problems of this material world. How we are able to accept and reject those things which are favorable for devotional service. So there may be a material science or a social science or a physical science that we can utilize in devotional service, but we don't necessarily have to accept it as the all in all. We kind of accept it, use it, and then discard it without attachment. And I guess one principle would be to just reject it altogether as entanglement. I guess this is where we're called upon to be expert or intelligent, to be able to utilize that which can be useful, and it could just be to sustain life, so that we can practice devotional service, or it can be something that we can directly engage in devotional service, but at the same time realizing this is just Krishna's energy. We're going to utilize it, appreciate it, understand its value, but at the same time, there's going to be a time to release it, detach it, and we're not going to make it our all in all, or we replace Krishna as our supreme goal. Just some thoughts I had as you were talking about this very nicely, and anyway, just my realization
Thank
on
you,
that.
Prabhu. Thank you for sharing. Yes, this is very, very important, not to be overly attached, but, do the needful. If there is a way we can engage, use it in devotional service for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, we use it. Uh, Otherwise, keep it to the minimum, do the needful. But ultimately, the goal is somehow to whatever is favorable, use it. And if it is not favorable, then try to keep it away. But ultimately, as you rightly pointed out, not to be attached to these things. Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing that. Any other comments, questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I was reading one sloka this morning, 3.19, and I liked it very much. It says, whatever you do for the satisfaction of Vishnu, and then you are not attached to your work or the bondage, then you are free. So Krishna was saying to Arjuna, O son of Kaunteya, do your prescribed duty for the satisfaction of Krishna, then you are not attached to the, or you are free from, you become free from bondage. So that liked very much, and I thought it is connected to somewhat Drona Prabhu's question. Maybe I.
Yes. Yes. Like Arjuna was so much in lamenting, right? So much he didn't want to fight. But then ultimately, Krishna enlightened him by saying that do it, but do it as a service for me. Fight
Yeah.
for me, for my pleasure. Then you will be free, as you rightly
Mhm.
pointed out. So yes, so ultimately that is the goal, is to try and engage everything in loving devotional service to the Lord. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. It is about sacrifice for Vishnu, everything. But 3.19, I was reading this morning only, so I thought I liked it. So, yeah, thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class. Yes, really liked. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. We will continue tomorrow with text number 9. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Patadevascha kripa sindhubhya cha nam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prananatha.